Sweet sound and barrel of dippily heavily ever to back up Libby bells and sweet sound and barrel of dippily heavily ever to back up Libby bells and Bobby, she was prettier than Venus. She was so beautiful. Sweet sound and barrel of dippily heavily ever to back up Libby bells and sweet sound and barrel of dippily heavily ever to back up Libby bells and she was love, 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 she was love.
Lovely viewers, you're welcome to the Learned Council program, and I am your host. My name is Henritta Asare, and today we'll be having an amazing personality on this show. He is a professor, he is an author, he is a lawyer by profession, he's also an economist, and his name is Professor Lawyer Nana Oppong. And for today, we'll be discussing two of his books, which are Beautiful Nonsense and Nonsensus Consensus. Prof, you're welcome to this show.
Thank you very much.
I'm very privileged to have you here.
I'm pleased to be here.
Awesome. And how is Canada? How is Canada like?
Everything is fine.
Awesome. So before I begin my questions, before we dive in, I want to know what inspires you to write? Because I realize that most people, people write books. People love to write, but where did that passion come from? What made you feel like, whoa, I think I need to start writing books on this stuff? Where did that come from?
I don't actually have a passion for writing.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm happy writing, but I write because I have to. So I'm there, then I see a problem, and I feel a duty to write about it. So I write. And then you see me writing in different fields because there are different issues that arise in different fields for which I feel compelled to say something or clarify or make a contribution. And when I need to write, I feel like I become restless until I finish writing. And so I write because it's a duty, not a bad, burdensome duty, but it's a duty nevertheless. So even yesterday, I was just thinking, I finished writing so many books. I finished writing my last book in February this year.
Just now? Okay.
Yeah, and I thought, no, I'm done with writing anymore. And somebody was saying to go and write on a certain area. And I was thinking, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to write. But that's what happens. It's like, go write, and then I write, and the next one write, and so I write. So my last book that I wrote, it is something I've never written before. It's on Christ. It's called The Readable Christ. Just imagine, I write on physics, law, economics, science, everything. And then all of a sudden, I feel compelled to write on Christ. So I don't know what the next book is going to be about.
So you basically, it's like you write based on where your interest moves to?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay. So first of all, we are going to talk about the first book, that's Beautiful Nonsense. Like I said, Beautiful Nonsense. Why the title Beautiful Nonsense? One would consider that as an oxymoron, but it's beautiful nonsense. They don't match. So why Beautiful Nonsense?
So the two senses of beautiful nonsense. The first one is the whole of reality as we see it, experience it, is beautiful and it's nonsensical. Okay. On one level, we could see the possibilities of paradise. The world could be paradise, but it is not. So the beautiful things perish, and our loved ones depart, and our powers dim, and we all fade away. So it's beautiful when we're here, and when we sing and dance and play, and then we love, and then we eat, and we are merryful, and then one day all of it goes away. So it's nonsensical that you link the beautiful to the perishing. Okay. So in other words, at one level, life is a beautiful nonsense. On the other level, there's a lot of things that masquerade as beautiful that are nonsensical. They appear as beautiful, but in reality, they're not beautiful at all. So if you link the two, you have the poetic, beautiful nonsense of reality, which we experience as human beings. And then we have the impressive, but illusional, beautiful, which is nonsensical, in fact. So beautiful nonsense is about the things that are beautiful on the face of it, but are truly nonsensical in practice.
Awesome. I'm learning something. Okay. So I read your book, and the content was talking about rulers. You could see ruler, the word ruler throughout. I wanted to know, who would you describe as a ruler? Who is a ruler?
Human beings can divide it into two broad categories.
Okay.
You have the ones who have power to rule certain people
Okay.
within a region, within a district, within a community, a nation, and on the global level. And then you have the people who are just clueless or followers. So the ruler for fashion will tell you what to dress, what to wear, how to dress, which color, which style, which cut, which make, which fabric. The ruler for politics will tell you what's in, what's left, what's right, what's centrist, and which legislation to go for, what's exclusive, what is inclusive, and. The ruler for finance and credit will tell you what goes on, what's allowed, what's not allowed. So the ruler is in every sphere of life. And so the point of the beautiful nonsense is to highlight this narrative and this fact that there are people who are actually acting as if they are gods and changing the plans of God and letting the people behave as if they're robots or sheep following the ruler, where the ruler is the shepherd. The ruler is the master puppeteer who turns the people into puppets, yo-yos who lift them up, go here, don't go there, do that. The beautiful nonsense is actually a story about how paradise was lost
Okay.
and how paradise is being lost through people's machinations and creativity and evil ways that come as normal, as civilization, as education, as reform, as the new world order.
So you believe that these rulers have just used civilization to, kind of like deceive us, or maybe get us to do things they want us to do.
The ruler uses what is available.
Okay.
So if it is civilization, if it's technology, if it's politics, if it's law, if it's education, if it's religion, wherever it is, the ruler uses it. But the ruler is not one person. There's a lot of people who have the wisdom to see that humanity can be moved like chess boards. You can just shift them like this and like that, like that. You can move machines, right? You can also move humans if you know how to manipulate them. And you manipulate humans through their needs and their desires and their passions and their fears and their hopes and their dreams and the knowledge or the ignorance they have. So there are rulers in every corner sitting down thinking, how can I control 1,000 people? And this one's, how can I control 1,000,000 people? This is, I can control a whole nation. This one's, how can I control a continent? This one's, how can I control the whole world? Different levels of rulers with different aspirations, different authorities, and different powers. And so, essentially, there's a competition in the world for the hearts and minds of humanity. God wants our hearts and minds. The devil wants our hearts and minds. And the rulers are competing between God and the devil for the hearts and minds. And they can take them to God or they can take them to evil. And that's what's happening.
Okay, so you made mention of this in your book. You said God bestowed gifts to different worlds. I wanted to know the gifts. What are these gifts?
When every human being
Should we understand it? Literally, as in gifts as a parcel, or it's symbolic?
Okay, so there are parcels which are gifts that we get from one another,
Okay.
which are part of the gifts of God. Because if God didn't create you and create the person, give you the gift, you won't get the gift. So when you have the gift, it's from God. But God also gives us opportunities, our talents, our families, our relationships, our health, and everything. But He created everyone with the capacity to contribute something to reality. So you have something very unique and extraordinary that's only you can give. But you need an opportunity to develop it, to know it, to nurture, to use it.
Yeah.
If you don't have that opportunity, then your gift will not come to fruition. It will not be useful. It will not be mentioned. Everybody has a gift, and communities have gifts. Tribes, clans, families, regions, nations have gifts. And the point is, it's like we're going to a party, and you bring this color, I bring that color, you bring this, I bring that, and it's beautiful, it's magical, and it's nice, and everybody has a variety of things that they can, oh, I like this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. But the rulers have taken up systems to destroy your unique talent, so they don't want you to come with your talent,
Okay.
my talent. They want you to come with their talent. So if they want jazz, they want everybody to listen to jazz and play jazz and praise jazz and love jazz, and that's it. Fortunately, It is possible for some people to play different music other than the music being requested and demanded and forced on us by the ruler. So there is this tension between creativity, originality, freedom, and this uniformity, order, imposition from the ruler. The ruler wants you to wear what they want you to wear, dress the way you want to, eat what you want to, speak the way you want them to speak, so you have no freedom. And a lot of people are ignorant. They think what they're wearing is their choice. What they're listening to is your choice. The books they're reading is your choice. A lot of people have no choice at all. They think they're free, but really they're in chains. And they're in chains from dictates of rulers. And what do I mean by a ruler? So every sphere, there's someone who has authority to set trends, to demand that you follow. And whether you like it or not, someone, an influencer, will come to you directly or indirectly. And before you know, you're wearing the shoes of the ruler, or the shoes that the ruler says is in. You are speaking the language that the ruler says you speak, going to the school that the ruler thinks is cool, traveling to the country the ruler says, and. Through standards, to projections, to summaries, to recommendations, to evaluations, to reports, to abundance of things. Before you know, you are conforming to the ruler's plans, schemes. But my point is not about rulers. My point is, right now, people are losing the capacity to know themselves. And when you don't know yourself, how can you then create from yourself? And we need to start thinking about ourselves and say, who am I? What can I do in this world? And why am I here? And when you begin to think about yourself and what you can do and what you cannot do, you begin to discover that you are unique. You're beautiful. There are certain things that only you can do, but you're not doing. And you should do. When you start thinking like that, you become free, creative, and useful to God and to humanity and to yourself. If you don't start thinking like that, and then you go on social media and you say, oh, I like this, I follow this, then when do you become the leader to be followed? You are always following people. When then do you become the leader that can set the example that other people can follow? And you see a lot of the people being followed, they themselves are robots.
Wow.
Right? A lot of things that the people talk about, they stand in the mirror and say, I'm vain, look at me, I'm beautiful. Isn't that hair is fake, and the boobs are fake, and this is fake, and the car is, what is it that they have to offer? That is so extraordinary. So even if you see a lot of the influences, I'm not saying all of them, a lot of the influences are themselves influenced by trivia. So if trivia from a ruler makes the influencer and you follow the influencer, then you are following trivia without even paying attention to it. So a lot of people are just doing crazy, useless, sometimes injurious stuff. They don't know that they were created by the Most High God to be beautiful, to be extraordinary, to be unique, and to make God. If you think of the world as a tapestry, as a painting, God wants you to be a beautiful paint. It's like we were posing for God, and then you were there, and then you covered yourself, so you didn't show your face. So in the picture, you're down, she's down, everybody's down, 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 and only people will see one face by the ruler. The painting is not that beautiful because that's not what God intended. He wants everybody's face to be unique, everybody's color and height and size and wherever it is. And if you were to sing, even if you're not the best singer, he wants to hear your voice. If you're not the best dancer, he wants to see you dance. Because after all, who cares about perfection? Everybody is nice. But the ruler said, no, 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 no. Everybody should dance this way, move this way, think this way, talk this way. That's what beautiful nonsense is all about. It's wrong.
So do you think fear is a factor to why we can't be creative, why we've actually hidden our creativity, or even the reason why we haven't been able to discover what creative things we can do?
There's a lot of problems. In order to be free, you need to be able to move. And the first thing about freedom is movement. And if you are restricted because of hunger, frustration, poverty, ignorance, wherever, then it's difficult then to say, let me discover myself. Who am I? The question about identity and where you're coming from, where you're going, is linked to freedom. It's linked to the ability to find food and shelter and clothing and education and all of that. And most people are having problems surviving. You need to survive before you can move on to self-discovery. So that's the first thing. People having problems with survival. so it's difficult to move on. But for those who don't have a problem with survival, the second problem they have is, or the first problem they have is miseducation, ignorance, wrong company, right? Wrong religion, wrong beliefs, wrong culture, and all that stuff. And then they're plugged in now. They don't have time to reflect. Most people are busy always with their phones, busy following someone, listening to this, watching this. When do they have time to say, wait a minute, who am I? What can I do? I'm a painter, I'm a singer, I'm an engineer, I'm a lawyer, I'm an economist, I'm a preacher. Most people don't have time for that. They waste their time all the time. So when somebody is busy with nonsense, when can they be useful to themselves and to the world? So you have to stop. And when you stop, then you can listen. If you never stop, the nonsense, the trivia, the television, whatever it is, then you don't have the opportunity to start reflecting.
Okay. So how do you think we should utilize these gifts to achieve the aim or to get to where we want to get to? How should we utilize them?
First of all, you have to discover and believe that you have a gift.
So
And what is that gift? And then, whether it's in engineering, whether it's in management, whether it's in politics, wherever it is, then you have to focus on it and become the best you can be. And then the way to become the best you can be in any field is to become one with the field. If it's football, you have to eat, drink, sleep football. If it's music, the same thing. If it is law, if it is politics, your whole life should be about that field. You become one. You should be a manifestation of the area that you love. And then you become excellent. Genius is born out of that. When you become one with the subject, then you are excellent in that subject. So even if it's being a painter, a sculptor, an artist, you have to become one with the arts. First thing is discover what you're supposed to be and work your way to become one with that field, and you will excel automatically. That's the first thing. But you also need a community of beloved, people who really care about that field, who will then nurture you. If you want to be a footballer and people don't care about football in your house and your community, how can you become a footballer? Right? And they'll tell, let's go. What is this football? You're wasting your time. Right? So you need people to support you and encourage you. And the third thing is you must believe in yourself so that even if obstacles come your way, difficulties, challenges, roadblocks, and all, you say, no, no, no. I was meant to be this and I'll do it. So if you have the three combinations, you discover yourself, you become one with the subject, you have a good community, and you're determined, then your beautiful self will arise.
Awesome.
And then you can pose for God and say, here I come. Lord, here, see me, take a picture of me. Send it to God. That's for God. But if you're not doing anything useful, beautiful, what postcard will you send to God?
A question. Okay. Now moving on. You mentioned three things. Okay. You said greed, exchange, and wine. According to history, they've amended God's plan. What are these three things? Greed.
So
exchange,
God wanted
wine.
us to be pure, at least beautiful in our own ways. Each one should come to the dance floor of God and dance their beats, even if it's a crooked dance, even if it's a crippling dance, even if it's a foolish dance. Dance. All he wants you to do, dance in front of him, sing the way you want, even if you have a bad voice. But then people said, no, 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 no. So they invented greed, or they've encouraged greed as a way of life. So I want what you have. I want your hair. I want your dress. I want your shoes. I want your car. I want everything. But if I become you, will I be happy? I won't.
No.
So then I want to be not just you. I want. So the quest for more creates madness in our relationships, in our pursuits. And it prevents us from being what I'm supposed to be. I'm not supposed to want to become you. I'm supposed to be me. So instead of wanting me, so that I can become great in my uniqueness as a servant of God, I'm pursuing trivia and vanity and foolishness with others. That's the first thing. So greed creates problems for us so that we don't concentrate on our creativity and our uniqueness. Then he invented exchange. This greed now is linked to money and to power. So we want money. We want machines. We want houses. We're never satisfied. If you have one car, you want two. You have two, you want three. If you have four, you want five. You have a million, you want a billion, you want trillions, and then endless. So and then these things we will leave behind. These things are not really defining your creativity and who you are and what you are. The postcard is not about what you're holding. It's about you alone standing before God and say, here I am, right? But you're pursuing things that you leave behind, so it's a waste of time. Then the third thing is they invented wine, which is alcohol, which is drugs, which is addictions, intoxicants, things that will make you inebriated so that you stand and then all these things combined create a caricature of yourself. You're not really yourself. A lot of people, what I call the dizzy class, they're dizzy, walking around, waving here, unstable, because things are not working well. So God's plan of beautiful selves, right, wrecked, diverted, and spoiled by greed, exchange, and wine. And so I'm saying to the readers, look, don't become a victim of this trap.
Okay.
And it comes in the form of modernization and civilization and education. And then you think, I'm very civilized because I'm drinking. You see a lot of the advertising. People are drinking, yeah, I'm so happy because I'm drinking. You're not happy because you drink. It's a lie. Everybody who drinks get depressed because drinking is a depressant, right? Everybody who gets drugs has problems. They have all kinds of issues in the hospitals and in your family lives and your relationships. People who get obsessed with having more and more become dissatisfied. A lot of people commit suicide and have serious problems because they can't get enough. So why would you want to put yourself into this crazy rat race, or how we call the monkey race? You should step back and say to yourself, I'm in my little corner. I want to be big, but in the meantime, what can I do for myself? What can I do to shine? And then you start. Before you know, you're being useful, creative, contributing, earning a living, step by step, and then within a short time, you are somebody. Be somebody that is unique and original, and don't follow the rat race and the monkey race.
Okay. So, question is, with these three things, greed, exchange, and wine, how do you think we can take them out of our system? What would you recommend we do? Or what do you think what would be your recommendation of solving these three things?
You can't really take away realities. What you can do is isolate yourself from the effects of greed, exchange, and wine. So the best way to do it is to know yourself and to link yourself to God and to try and be the best you can be. Find something to do that is useful. Work, creative, go to school, get your job, do some business. So you're focused on your work. You're focused on being better, producing, being productive, being useful. And don't care about what people have. It's not a problem. It's not a race that you should have a house, a car, have $1 million and all. No, 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 no. The only thing that matters is that you should have a life and that you should have a relationship with people that will give you a good life. And then you work so hard and God bless you so you can fulfill the needs of your life. That's all. That's all. You shouldn't worry yourself, I need to have that car, that shoe, that thing, that certificate. It's not a race against anybody. It's your own life. So if God wants you to be rich, He'll help you to be rich. Do the best you can. But at the same time, everything is not about wealth. It's not about status and power. It's about simplicity. It's about nature. It's about harmony. It's about music. It's about joy. It's about dance and painting and talking and fooling. And all of that, they don't cost money.
Okay, so where do you think their problem is from?
It's miseducation.
Okay, what's of the law?
And the law contributes to it, but mostly miseducation. And miseducation comes from not only from schools and the books, but from media and from your friends and relationships and your company. And yes, the company you keep, they influence you. Everybody has a certain phone, they want you to have that phone. Everybody has a certain hair, they want you to have that hair. Everybody has a certain amount of money, they want you to have it. And so there's pressure on you. And because of social pressure, you feel obligated to go there. Yeah. So you're constantly chasing after the wind. Something that is not about you, it's about them. But they're not important. Because when you die alone. When you're sick, you're sick alone. When you're suffering alone. When you're depressed alone. So in this world, don't follow the group to your perdition. But think, I am here. What can I do for myself? What can I do for my family, for my community, for God? when you start thinking like that and you start saying, oh, I can do this. This one is better. I love this. I don't like this. How can I get help? Question, step, before you know, you're doing something right.
Okay. So viewers, let's go for a commercial break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Sweet sound and barrel dippily heavily ever to back up be building. Sweet sound and barrel dippily heavily ever to back up be building. Bobby, she was prettier than Venus. She was so beautiful. Sweet sound and barrel.
Welcome back from that short break. If you are now tuning in, this is the Learned Counsel program, and we have an amazing guest here who is Professor Lawyer Nana Oppong. And we'll still be continuing with our questioning. Back to you, Prof. My question is, how important is time to you? I mean, what's time?
Time is very, very important. In
Why?
fact, God is time.
Okay. So you say time is God, God is time. Why is God time?
That's all we have. He gave us a portion of his time, of his life. Without time, what do you have? And when we say life, we say time. So when we say a person has 70 years, what is it? 70 years of what? Life. 70 years of time. And if you think about reality, the first reality is time, eternity. If there's no eternity, how can anything come out of it? And if there is eternity, what is it? It has to be God. And so time is very, very important. But on a practical scale, so on a physical plane, time offers two possibilities. One is it allows you to do things. If you have time, you can change. You can correct yourself. You can improve upon yourself. So you see time like a train that moves you from one section to the other and eventually gets you there where you're supposed to be. Even if you're slow, if you have a long time, you arrive there. So time can be very beneficial. At the same time, time has a negative dimension, which means it can get you to become weak. As you get older, you become weaker. As you get older, more forgetful. As you get older, you become more still. The things that used to be very sharp and fashionable, over time they become outdated. And the clothes you used to wear, you can't wear them anymore because people will laugh at you. And even if you wear them, still, they're not the latest clothes. And then also, of course, people invent better things than you have invented in the past. More competitors show up because of time. So time has this element of allowing you to achieve your goals and at the same time allowing others to compete against you and make you irrelevant. And that is why everyone that comes into the world has a limited time to be productive, to be useful, to be beneficial to themselves and to humanity. So when you come onto the earth and you're young and you're strong and you're healthy, you have to maximize the use of your time by discovering yourself, discovering your God, and becoming very, very useful.
Okay.
Because otherwise, with time, you may lose it all.
Okay. With time, we lose all. Okay. So, do you think deception is controlling leadership in contemporary times?
Well, I don't know about leadership is not uniform. There's not one leader. There's a lot of leaders, and you have democratic leaders. You have very kind leaders.
Okay.
You have wicked leaders, dictators, destroyers, traitors, killers, and things. So we applaud the good men of the world, the good women of the world, and we condemn and abhor, and we pray that God destroys all the bad leaders of the world. Unfortunately, there's a lot more bad leaders than good leaders. And who is a bad leader? A bad leader is the one who hijacks the resources and the power of the nation, and he uses to destroy people for his own self-aggrandizement. Sometimes it's not even for self, he's just wicked and causes mayhem and chaos and distraction and waste. There are people like that. Unfortunately, the world has a history of bad people taking over power. They come first as angels. Sometimes they don't even pretend to be angels. They just do coup d'etats and they're in power, and before you know, everything is wrecked. We pray for good men and good women to take charge of the nations and to use the power they have for justice, for kindness, for freedom, and all kinds of good. But are people being deceived? Yes. The chief deceiver is the devil.
Okay.
And the devil doesn't deceive by wearing horns and standing as though I'm the devil. He takes something that is true and then distorts it. So as you think you're doing the truth, you end up going the wrong way.
Yeah.
You take something that is holy and then adds unholiness to it. So as you think you're holy, before you know you are the profane. So that's how the devil works. It's the distortion of reality. It's the diversion of people from the holy land to something else. You think you're going to the city of God. You see angels standing there, but it's just a show. End up in the city of the devil. So a lot of people are deceived. And it's difficult to know that you're being deceived, because when you're being deceived, you think you're not being deceived. And that's the problem. It takes the grace of God for a person who has been deceived to actually know that he's been deceived and to return to the right way. A lot of leaders are deceived. They think if they have a little bit of power and money and can put people in prison, then they are powerful. But they forget that it's just a show. In the end, everybody returns to God, and all that criminal activity will not help them.
Okay, so who would you describe as a civilized man? Who would you say is civilized?
So you come onto the earth for 60, 70 years, and then you leave, or maybe 100 years and you leave. It's a short life. And you meet the person. You didn't bring the person here. And like you, the person will also leave. So why would you want to destroy that person? You leave them alone and you pursue your path. If the person can help you, if you can help the person. A civilized man is a person who doesn't hurt others, but to the best of his abilities, he helps others. That's a civilized man. A civilized man is a person who, when he speaks, he makes people laugh, or he gives them wisdom, or he comforts them, or he wipes the tears away from them, or he gives them hope. That's civilization. A crazy man, on the other hand, is one when he comes, everybody's running, everybody's hiding, everybody is pretending to love him because they think, oh, there comes a madman masquerading as authority. We need more civilized men.
We need more civilized men. So I'm quoting something here. I saw it in your book. He said, tyranny of life's prisons. What are they? What do you mean by tyranny of life's prisons?
Yeah. A lot of people are oppressed by their relationships and by their needs and conditions, poverty, unemployment, disease, injustice, cruelty, insecurity, atrocities. And they are in prison, not physical prisons, emotional, economic, financial.
In their minds.
Yes, and they're suffering. And that's why a lot of alcohol sales are going up. A lot of drugs. People are taking all kinds of and inventing new kinds of drugs. But sometimes it's too hard. Life is too hard. And if you're lucky, in some nations there are programs to help people who are suffering, hurting. Other nations, you're on your own. Even food becomes a problem. There are people who are actually in their rooms who are old and sick and nobody's taking care of them because nobody can help them. So life can become extremely hard for a lot of people. And that's why we need good governance, more democratic governance, and good people to take charge so they can really help the oppressed and the poor and the marginalized and the fallen. Right now, in many countries, they are reversing democracies and dictators are taking power, and there's a culture of silence, and it's difficult to speak, because if you speak and you don't speak for the ruler, then you're seen as enemy, even though you're not an enemy. All you care about is kindness and justice and welfare and God and all of them. So we need to reform our political and legal systems to ensure, in fact, to guarantee that those who take power will be God-fearing people, Democrats. I mean Democrats in a bigger scale, not Democratic Party, but Democrats who care about people, who want to serve the people, who are not in power to oppress and to use the power for themselves. Otherwise, the prisons will increase, tyranny will increase, injustice will increase, and we go back to the old days of slavery and slave trade. Because what is stopping people who have power from selling other people? Nothing but the laws. But if the laws are no longer working and the guns are working, slave trade can come back, slavery can come back, and it will be a really horrible world.
So do you think it's best to make decisions based on criteria, not just on morality?
No, morality is not going to save us. Morality should inform the law. So we create laws that are consistent with morality. But morality doesn't have the power of enforcement, doesn't have authority that you need to be able to get things done. In the law, we call it mandamus and order and compelling things. So yes, morality good, morality should influence the law, but the law should be good. The law should be beneficial. It should be democratic. The law should be something that thinks of people, thinks of future, thinks of justice, thinks of God, thinks of welfare, and then enshrines duty of care so that people are helped, especially the weak, the poor, the sick, the disabled, and the marginalized. In a beautiful world, really, in a beautiful world, there will be no hunger. And even the hunger will be minimized if it is there. The sick will be taken care of. The fallen will be lifted up. And that is not paradise. It's something that we can do right on earth because we have the knowledge and the resources to be able to do that. If it's not happening, it's not because nature forbids. Nature doesn't forbid happiness and strength and brotherhood and kindness. It's because of politics. It's because of ignorance and greed and exchange and the wine.
Okay, so I'm very particular about this question. The law. Do you think the law is satisfying our interest or is just satisfying the interest of these rulers, these authorities? Because the law is supposed to, protect us, but looking around, do you think it's actually doing that duty?
The law is not a person.
Okay.
So the types of laws you get depends on the people writing the laws. And the enforcement depends on the powers in place. So if you want laws protecting you, then you should have a say in the laws being written in the country, which means politics should really influence democracy. Then when you vote, you should vote someone who will speak for you. When you elect, you should elect someone who cares about you. And when you have a ruler, it should be a ruler who comes from you. But it's not enough to say we have laws and we have democracy, but who is actually running the system? What is the politics of that person? What is the morality of that person? Where is the spirit of that person? Where is the duty of care of that person? That is where the issue is. So if you want laws that protect you, then you should have lawmakers who care. You should have lawmakers elected who are good, who are caring, who are law-abiding. And so in the end, it's your votes, your politics really matter.
Okay. You said that it's better not to be somebody because being somebody is tiresome and pointless. Why would you say being
I just say that. I would just say that that's what the rulers are saying. The rulers are
Okay,
saying,
so-
why do you bother to be somebody? Be nobody. Why do you care about being original?
But they want to be somebody.
Everybody has to be somebody. I was telling you that you have to be original. So when you stand in front of God and send him a postcard, he looks at you and says, my God, do you see me? So, but the ruler doesn't want you to be like that. He wants you to be, do you know why he wants you to be nobody? He wants you to be part of anonymous, consumer, right? So you are just a consumer number 225, with the car number 22 this, the drink number so-and-so, sleeping hotel number so-and-so. You're just a number. And you're just like everybody else because you're drinking what everybody else is drinking, eating everybody's drinking, wearing what everybody's wearing, going to the same school everybody's going, having the same certificates and accreditation. And so you are a consumer with no particular function except that you pay. You are payor. So in that sense, you're nobody. But if you want to be somebody, then you can say, well, I don't want to drink. I don't want to wear that. I don't want to dress like that. I don't want to speak like that. I don't believe this. I. And when you begin to talk like that, it may not be good for the ruler's pocket or his influence, so he may not like it. But then you have a wonderful life.
Okay. So just say that right now we see through the ruler's lens. Whatever the ruler sees, that's how we see things.
Yeah, a lot of people can't think straight. They think they're free, but they're not free. They're actually walking the steps laid down by them for the ruler, wearing the shoes of the ruler, listening to the music of the ruler, eating the food of the ruler, and even worshiping the God of the ruler. And they think, yeah, I'm free, I have liberty. But liberty is not about the ability to stand in front of a camera and shout and say, I'm free. Liberty is actually the ability to be authentic to yourself and to God and to humanity, and to be able to create things. If you haven't been able to create anything, then it means you're not free. You know why? Because everybody's born to be a creator.
Okay. So do you think the rulers, they're actually taking advantage of the fact that they understand the laws, so they are using that in their own interest instead of public interest?
Yeah. What is the public interest? According to the ruler, there's no public. A whole bunch of anonymous payors and consumers. You can describe them as public, but they're insignificant. And your function is just to subscribe, to consume, and to pay for it. So if you call that public, you're just wasting time with words. But the public is insignificant. So when the ruler uses his knowledge and his skills and his organizational capacity and authority to exploit and to take advantage, he doesn't see anything wrong with it. Not at all.
Okay, so you made mention of democracy, which is one system of governance. What would you say democracy is? How would you, in your own words, describe democracy?
There is true democracy, then there is the appearance of democracy, and then there is pretend democracy. So weak democracy, strong democracy, but democracy is really the idea that everybody is equal. And then the people who are elected are representatives, agents, messengers, servants of the people, and they go there as trustees to serve the people who are the beneficiaries, and they use the resources in the best interest of the beneficiaries, which means they don't go there for their own political gains or selfish interests. That's true democracy. And they enact laws that are good for the people, for development, for peace, for justice, for equality, for harmony, for welfare. That's true democracy. Then you have the appearance of democracy. It has all the words and the texts and institutions, but really, it's like, it doesn't know what it's doing. It's just sometimes democratic, sometimes not democratic. Then you have the pretend democracies. They know they're not democracies, but they have the veneer, the color, the lights of democracy around, and the celebrations, the claps, the elections, but it's all fake. Then you have the dictators who know that one man is in charge or a little cabinet is in charge, but they say, we are democratic because don't you see, we do elections. So it's like all these people are there, but true democracy is service to the people.
Okay. You know, sometimes I think we've been brainwashed, and probably it would have been better if we lived life like previously. I mean, back to the old times, instead of when modernization was introduced and civilization and all that. Or you feel, no, we still need to just work on what we have?
I don't know about the old times. I wasn't there. I was told, someone who said, I was a philosopher, he said life used to be short, nasty, and brutish. People were living in the forest. All right, so you know.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, you're good. So if you think about it, I don't want to live a short, nasty, brutish life in the bush with mosquitoes, you know. I remember if I went to the cocoa farm and there were some little bugs, they bit me all over the place.
Oh.
I imagine in the past it was difficult to live in the forest, right? With the lions and the snakes and the things. Look, things are better for us anyway as compared to times of slavery, slave trade, and. But things are also worse for some people. So we live in a mixed era. So what we need to do is improve upon the good that we have and jettison the bad that is around us, you see, and make things better. We don't have to go back into the past and say, if there's something good in the past, let's bring it and do it now. If there's something good now, let's improve upon it and expand people's access to good. That will help all of us. I'm not the person who says the past is always better or the future is always better, because we live in the now and we have to improve the now.
Okay, would you applaud the existence of democracy?
As opposed to dictatorships. I told you, I am not a person who believes in wicked people taking over and one person thinking he's smarter than everybody. Only God is smarter than everyone. We are all equal. So democracy is the best system of governance for a system that admits and expresses equality of man. So if we're all equal, why should one person be the dictator? And also, when there's a true democracy, brilliant people come together and they help build better society. Look at America, look at Europe, look at other nations. But when you have a dictatorship, then it's possible to have one foolish man or a few foolish people wreck the nation.
Okay, so do humans matter?
Do humans matter?
Yes.
We are humans.
Okay.
I think the reason this earth is here is because of humans. That God created humans and He entrusted the world to us. And that we are very special to God. And when I look at humanity, I listen to the various songs being created, the dances, the plays, the inventions, the discoveries. And all of that lead me to say to God, you are amazing. But human beings are actually your handiwork, doing your handiwork. You are painting, but you're not painting directly. They have your brushes. You are singing, but you're not singing directly. They're singing for you. You're dancing, but you're not really dancing. They're dancing for you. So we actually are a reflection of the reality, of the creativity of the Most High God. And we really matter because even in our struggles and our foolishness, we prove there is a God.
Okay, there is a God. So, talking about God, so how do you think the world have been if we didn't have all these rulers, civilization, and God's plan was being administered? How do you think society would have been?
It's a world in which there's no greed, the exchange doesn't matter, and there's no wine to get people crazy and infatuated and all that. It will be a world in which people will be more creative, there'll be more love, there'll be more kindness, there'll be more justice, there'll be less wars, and it'll be a better place. And I think that world is what we all crave for when we talk about a better world, when we talk about paradise, when we talk about a future to come. And so we should strive for that world. And we can strive for that world by letting people know the world of greed and the world of exchange, money and power and the world of wine is not a true world. The true world is the world of creativity, of brotherliness, of sisterliness, of inclusive people coming together, of play, of discoveries, of conversations, of storytelling, of fiction. It's a world in which people actually hold hands and they say, we are human, that we are children of God. That world we can create and we must create. And we must not subscribe to the theory that says all is futile, everything is consumption, everybody's a consumer. No, we can all be creators, we can be brothers, and we can be the beloved of God.
Okay, awesome. So now let's move on to the next book, which is Nonsensus Consensus. Very first question, what would you say Nonsensus Consensus is?
Yeah, so with Nonsensus Consensus, the book says that politics has changed, knowledge has changed, and a lot of people are wrecking democracy because they can no longer decide based on knowledge and facts and data, but based on nonsense. And they don't understand nonsense, so they don't really try to challenge nonsense, but they accept it if only it comes from the right authority. Let me explain.
Okay.
If something is too complicated for people to understand because of technicalities, because of the language, because of the subject matter, but that is what they have to deal with, then they defer to authority. That technical, complicated document or subject becomes nonsensus to them.
Okay.
And it's nonsensical, so they can't say it is true or it's false. So they can't reject it. And so they consent to it, so consensus. From the census, they consent to it, not because they understand it, but because they can't reject it. And when that statement or subject matter is validated by authority, like spirituality, like politics, like technicalities, finance, and space exploration, and digital language, and applications, and they say, oh yeah, it's got to be true. In deferring to authority because it's nonsensical, because they can't challenge it, now people can no longer question what the authority does. Because in the first place, the document or subject matter that you accepted or you consented to is something you didn't understand. So when the authority now says to you, do this, you do it without challenge. I have accomplished the goal, you accept it without challenge, because you have no way of challenging it. And why all this big language? Knowledge is increasing at a pace. Data is increasing at a pace. Most people cannot understand it. They don't even have enough time to understand it. So when they give you a big book and say, this is the budget, or this is the report, this is a summary, this is the proceeding, it's too much. So then you say, what is our party's position? What does the party leader say? What does the president say? What does the church leader say? What does the mosque leader say? What does the imam say? People are giving up on the ability to understand and to question knowledge and authority, facts and data. And because of that, they are no longer in a position to consent to things. And so, nonsensus consensus is the description of the phenomena where human beings now are no longer, for the most part, making decisions on facts and data, but based on authority. Even in the financial sector, in the market sector, in every sector, that's what's happening. The authorities are becoming the certifiers of validity.
Interesting.
The inflation is going to go up, believe it. The stock is going to go down, believe it. Because if they give you all that data, you can't crunch it. You can't crunch the numbers. And somebody says, I've crunched all the numbers, believe it, and they believe it. So nonsense consensus is the future of humanity, where a few people will end up telling everybody what to do. We're back to the system of intellectual dictatorship, not because the dictators want to be, but because the vast majority cannot really keep up.
Okay, don't you think the reason why we don't ask why, or why we don't question these things, because we've been fed, or we need to absorb that these authorities, whatever they say is wise, we've made them look like gods before us, so we feel whatever decisions they make, after all, they are the authorities. Why don't we just give them the go ahead?
So there's one sense in which that's true. Some people have deified, made the authorities gods, but there's a sense in which no, it's not like that. It is because people are lazy, or people are incompetent, or people don't have time or the resources to digest, to break down, to absorb, and to really appreciate the facts and the data. There's too much information, too much data, too much of everything. And certain expertise is required to understand certain documents and things and reports. People lack that. So what they do is, look, all I need is food. All I need is a medicine. All I need is my job and my salary. Why do I have to read all this report? Look, I'm a Democrat, or I'm a Republican, or I'm an NPP, I'm an NDC, I'm this and that. What is our position? And they go with that flow. It's convenient. It makes sense for them. It cuts down through all that thing that you have to. After all, they're saying, even if I understand it, I still have to follow my party's position, right? So why do I have to waste my time trying to understand? Because my options are only this or that. And I don't like these people anyway, so no matter what, I have to follow my party. So in a way, it's because people have given up on understanding the subject matter, because it's too complicated, because they don't have time, because it really doesn't matter. So that's why they follow authority. That's why nonsense consensus reigns.
Okay, so Prof, my next question is, you think dictatorship is becoming an upfront in our democracy? As in, looking at democracy in general, do you think that dictatorship is chipping in bit by bit?
Let me speak in general.
Okay.
There's a human tendency that when you're in power, and power is sweet, you want to keep it. A lot of people don't want to give up power. So we have to learn to give up power. So that's the point of education. We have to educate our leaders to love democracy. Because if somebody didn't give up power, you won't get power. And so that's the first thing. We have to build a culture where people really understand democracy is beautiful, it's natural, it's good. You play small, you let somebody come and play, you know, that kind of thing. The second thing is that we have to set up systems that prevent people from staying in power beyond their systems, beyond their mandate. That should be a system, a law, a practical approach that ensures that. Number three is we should give people incentives to give up power after they become powerful. Do you understand?
Yeah.
There should be all kinds of mechanisms. Americans have been doing it for almost 300 years. England has been doing it for so many years. France and Germany and so many other nations around the world. So there's a way of learning that. And the fourth thing is that we should study the people who get into power. Some people have a track record of being wicked and unjust and lawless, and if you vote such people into power, then when they come to power, they wouldn't want to leave.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
And democracy is nice, but it has to be defended every year, every month, every election cycle. There's no guarantee that democracies would continue forever unless they defend it. Somebody said that the American founders of America said to the people, I think it was Abraham Lincoln, he said, we give you a republic if only you can keep it. We have a democracy if you can keep it. If you don't, dictators will come around and then say, well, I am the president and I abolish everything, I rule by decree. And what can you do?
Okay, so do you think that incompetence has affected or diluted our decision making?
Well, incompetence is a big problem in Africa. One of my books is called Nichematics. And in Nichematics, I talk about intellectual poverty It's a big problem in Africa. A lot of people are ignorant. Even in your own fields, let me tell you something. One of my cars, I was driving and all of a sudden I find that I can't move anymore. And I park the car. If someone tells me, oh, the bolts of your tire are all on the ground. All the bolts of one tire on the left side had removed, which means the tire was loose. The tire was coming off.
It's bad.
It's dangerous. If I was on a highway driving at 100 kilometers or 120 kilometers, I would have a serious accident. Why? Because the guy who tightened the bolt didn't tighten them well. That's just an example of incompetence. And people put in wrong spices, and the people eat the foods and they get sick. And wrong dosage of medicine, wrong things everywhere. There's a lot of incompetence that have to be weeded out. A lot of people are unqualified for the positions they take, and because of bribery and corruption and nepotism and things, wrong people are in the wrong places. So yes, but there are good people. But the good people need help. Because if you're surrounded by a sea of incompetence, it's frustrating, it's tiring, and eventually people give up.
Okay, so I want to know your take on this. I'm quoting a sentence here. Ignorance, a threat to democracy. Is it true or it's false?
It's really true.
Okay.
If you don't know what your members of parliament are doing, the government is doing, you can't challenge, you have no idea, then how can you be democratic? And how can the nation be democratic? They can rule by fiat, break laws, act with impunity, take the risks for themselves, and then come every 4 years and say to you, vote for me, because you're ignorant. You can't even question them. You just clap for them. Oh, my senator. Oh, my member of parliament. No, you need knowledge, and useful knowledge, practical knowledge as to the activities of governance, so that if the government says, I'm a good government, you can say, oh yes, you are, because you did this and that, because you were a good steward, you're a good trustee of our resources, you served us. That's from knowledge. But if you're ignorant, how can you say that? And if you're ignorant, you believe anything that anybody tells you, because after all, if you're ignorant, by what criteria can you decide if somebody's wrong or right? Knowledge is very, very important. And not only that, when you're learned, you can actually participate in democracy. And why are you thinking of yourself as the rules? You can be the ruler, but a ruler who is ignorant is dangerous. So I would ask everybody to be learned. So ignorance, consensus, nonsensus consensus tells us people are ignorant of the things that go into decision making. They've given up and they trust authorities, and that is dangerous for democracy. We should have a way of breaking down knowledge so it becomes digestible, so that the facts can actually be debated, so data can be scrutinized, so that claims can be scrutinized and challenged, so that things can be falsified or tested. Then you have a true democracy. But if everything becomes so technical, so complicated, so big, so large that people can't question it because they're ignorant, they trust authorities, then that's the beginning of the end of good governance, the beginning of the end of consensus, true consensus. And then nonsensus then becomes the only rule. No longer consensus, but nonsensus becomes the rule.
So you think that nonsensus consensus as a whole has, caused us in shifting decision making, opposition, everything to these authorities?
Yeah, so that the conversation is no longer between the people and the government, it's between the political party and the political party. When they speak, we just sit down like this. It's like football. You don't know how to play football. When the footballer plays, the referee and the linesman and all these people that make the rules. But the people are out of the debate. The debate now becomes between only few people of the political parties, and that is not good. The people can't even influence your own political party because they don't understand what the political party is saying. The manifesto is generated at a high level, at a high language, a technical language, complicated, and it's all nonsensical to the people. So all they need is the book has come, it was produced by the party, everybody clap and everybody yay. So politics now becomes almost like religion, where the high priest of the political party stand up and say, God said to me, I should do this, yay. And that is the beginning of the danger of dictatorships, where people worship, party worship, instead of democracy comes to play. And when that happens, the two elites or political parties or whatever the number is, they can collude to rule forever at the expense of real freedoms and liberties.
And I feel like democracy is actually fading away a bit, because I believe democracy is supposed to be about the people. Or what do you think?
Well, it's two things you said. It's fading away a little bit and about the people. Democracy is about people. Whether democracy is fading away depends on the measure. By what do you measure? Is it elections? Is it free and fair elections? People can vote freely. Are people being taken care of? Can you approach the leader? Can you speak freely? Is there freedom of the press? Is there justice in the courts? Is there security on the street? That is the measure of democracy. So before you can say whether democracy is on or off, weak or strong, dim or light, you have to sit down and start measuring. Okay, let's check. But it's not one man's job. It's not one person's job. It's the job of the whole nation. If people don't care, then democracy dies.
Okay, so how do you think we can resolve non-census consensus?
I was saying before, data should be broken down into digestible forms, simple forms. For understanding.
Okay.
There shouldn't be too much complicated stuff, things put together at the high level. Each local issue should be discussed at the local level, understood at the local level, and decision made at the local level. And regional issues at the regional level, national issues at the national level, and all of this is synchronized and synthesized. And people should really matter. They should be listened to. It shouldn't be people at the top telling the people at the bottom. It's people at the bottom telling people at the top. Because the people at the top are actually servants of the people, messengers of the people, agents of the people. Then when knowledge is broken down, so local matters really matter, people can relate to it. If you start talking all high and about inflation and GDP and this graph and that reference, and that doesn't matter to the poor, to the unemployed, to the sick. So local matters should be discussed, should be encouraged, and the issues should be broken down at relevant local levels.
Okay, so do you think that as at now, democracy favors the popular or the charismatic? That is, as long as you are popular amongst the people, we are in for you. As long as you have influence, you are charismatic, we are in for you, even though you are incompetent.
Oh yeah, that's the whole point of elections, is that we vote for the most popular, we don't vote for the most competent. But the idea is people will vote for the competent. But I'm saying to you, with non-census consensus, people have no way of measuring mostly competence because they can't even decide the issues. So it's become hero worship now. You call it popularity, but it's almost a form of, I love him, he's my brother, he's my tribe, he's my religion, he's handsome. My father was, my mother was, we come from. So now politics is not about, mostly it's not about knowledge, it's about relationships. And when it's about relationships, then it's nonsensus.
Okay, so Prof, thank you so much for being. I mean, I've learned a lot, I've been educated, I've been informed about so many things. Thank you so much once again.
You're welcome.
So viewers, unfortunately, we've come to the end of this show. This is the Learned Council program. And we'll meet once again, same time next week. Bye. Enjoy your week.
Sweet sound the barrel dippily heavily ever to back up be building. Sweet sound the barrel dippily heavily ever to back up be building. Bobby, she was not, she was pretty.